So I've been reading The Law and the Promise by Neville Goddard. And this morning I was reading chapter 3, Turn the Wheel Backward. And essentially it's about revising. So our current state of reality is built out of our experiences that we've had. They've created our belief system, our imprinted in our nervous system, what we believe the world to be, what's going to happen to us, how life is going to interact with us. And so revising, which this chapter is about, is going back to the previous moments in life where things weren't good, and in recreating in our imagination a new scenario. And so our belief system may be about love, maybe about money, about friends, about how easy or hard it is to make friends, to make money, whatever, is all based upon past experiences that we've had. And so the way that we create a new reality for ourselves is to go back. What this is saying is to go back and revise it, create a new reality, find the point of the incident that created a belief system, and then walk yourself through that scenario as though what you wanted to happen actually did happen. So we're creating our future from our past, but we can create a new past that can then help us to experience a new future, okay, a new present. Because if the story I keep telling myself is I'm not good enough, I'm money is hard to make, then as within, so without. So how do we create a new without? Well, we have to create a new within first. So we have to change the story. And so, like, when I heard this for the first time, revising the past, making something new out of what was, sounded like BS to me. But in this chapter of the book, Neville talks about the parable of the unjust steward in Luke 16:1-8 in the Bible. And he says that we can alter our world by means of a certain illegal imaginal practice. Okay? And he's referring to, in this parable that he speaks of, says Jesus, in Luke 16, Jesus also said to his disciples, there was a rich man whose manager accused him of wasting possessions. So he called him and asked him, what is this I hear about you? Turn in an account of your management, for you can no longer manage any longer. And the manager said to himself, what shall I do now that my master is taking away my job? I'm too weak to dig and too ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do, so that after my removal from my job, people will welcome me into their homes. And so he went to each one of his master's debtors and asked them how much do they owe. And the first one said 100 measures of olive oil. And so what this guy did was then take his bill and wrote 50 on it. And then to another debtor, he said, how much do you owe? And he said 100 measures of wheat. And so he said, well, let's take your bill and write 80 on it. So basically, he's taking his master's debtors and reducing their bill so that when he doesn't have a job, they will take kindly to him and offer him work, or offer him, it says, into their home. So he did this, and his master commended the dishonesty of his manager because he acted shrewdly. And it says, "For the sons of this age are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the sons of light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to make friends for yourself, so that when it is all gone, the wealth, they will welcome you into eternal dwellings." Which is, so this is really interesting. So Jesus is giving this parable, and he's saying that this guy was smart. Okay, so I honestly didn't understand like how Jesus could be telling this man, or this story, this parable, in a way that is good. He's telling a parable. He said this guy acted wisely, right? And so to me, it didn't make sense. So I asked ChatGPT to give me a little bit of explanation on this parable. And so I asked, what does this mean symbolically, from Neville's point of view? And so if we look at it from Neville's point of view, the rich man in this parable is the higher self, the source of all creation. And the steward is your imagination, the manager of your inner world. When the steward realizes he's about to lose his position, which are the old ways of managing life, fear, reaction, guilt, they aren't working, right? When you come to the realization that I have these patterns of belief, they're no longer working for me. So what he does is he changes the records, okay? He revises the accounts. He literally rewrites reality inside of himself. And so it says that this illegal act that Neville talked about is an imaginal falsification of facts. And so in this story or parable, we have to look beyond the words, right? Because parables aren't, they're layered. They're deeply layered stories that for me in my life have been just surface level. Okay, so if in this idea I go back to, like, I have always had a sense of lack in my life, right? So I had to go back into my imagination and find out where did I get a belief of lack, right? And so, growing up, we had, we had SNAP or WIC, and, money was just not abundant. And so I grew up with a belief that it's hard to make money. And so I go back in my imagination, and I actually have a YouTube that I will do that helps retrain this belief system, and it goes back into, you go back into time as a child and start to feel what it's like to have abundance, to feel what it's like to have people around you that show you the way of making money. Because look around, the rich keep getting richer, right? That's because wealth and a wealthy, abundant mindset gets passed down into the family. In lack, boy, it surely does the same. And Jesus said, those who have, even more will be given, and those who have not, even what they do have will be taken away. So if I do have lack, if I do believe it's hard to make money, if I do believe it's hard to make, to find love or make friends, or to find fulfillment, like whatever that belief system is that I have, I'm going to continue to find that until I go back in time and rewrite the story, okay? Because my nervous system, which is the echo that that reality is reflecting back to me, that's what's in my nervous system. You know, whatever I'm experiencing is there. So I have to go back in time to all of the incidents, or enough of the incidents where a belief was imprinted on me, and change it in a meditation, in an imaginative act. Walk through the scenario and then begin to feel into myself that like abundance is natural, because for some people abundance is all there is. They live an abundant life, and for others money can be a struggle, and it has for me. And so I'm going back into, oh yeah, I'm training my nervous system to feel what it feels like to always have what I need, to never lack, to never want, right? Because until my nervous system believes that to be true, my reality will reflect that feeling of lack. So this was just really cool, and I wanted to share as I'm in process and learning all this stuff, learning what it is to create my own reality. I have to know what I believe about myself and what I believe about life. And in so this, in summary, is that we can create a new future by going back and creating a more palatable or better past. We can collapse, like if I have a wish or a desire to manifest a new reality, like I can by believing that reality is mine, I can fold time in half and bring that to me. Okay? But if I have a, you know, underlining belief system that is contrary, that's like hidden, then it's going to be longer for me to attain that which I'm going for. But if I go back in time and I start creating this timeline that it sounds absurd, I know, but but I can see the truth is that if I go back and always have what I've needed, then my nervous system and my brain starts to realize, oh, these aren't the future that I wish to attain. Of course I can attain it because I have a past that shows me that that I always have what I need, right? Jesus was teaching us metaphysics. He was teaching us to believe that which was not physical. He was telling us to believe that it was actually physical in here, in real in here, before it's here, right? And so this is just a really cool new new way for me to begin to create the life that I want. And just to tie this into addiction, to pull this into what I'm talking about, if I have a belief system of who and what I am, and I'm trying to escape that negativity, that negative belief, that negative realization of existence, well, addiction solves that problem, right? Addiction takes that away from me for a moment, right? So if I believe myself to be the person who I wish to be, then I don't need the addiction anymore, because the addiction is just covering some false belief. So we change the future by changing the past.